All right, let's do it. All right, so this will be the first podcast episode.
Yay!
You're the first guest. It's official. Yeah, damn right. But no, I want to start like setting these up and having guests on and stuff. And I think the best way to do it is in person. Like, I don't know. I watch interviews online and people do them. Like they work. Like Ariel Helwani is an MMA guy, but he has like high tech equipment. You know what I mean? I don't think there's a lot of appeal in people watching Zoom calls for whatever reason.
Well,
do you know what I'm saying? Like when you watch Call Her Daddy, aren't the conversations all person in person?
Yeah.
That's the way to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, there
is something that lacks luster when you have to watch like a recording of like two Zoom cameras like side by side. It's not the interaction isn't the same.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I think it makes people think of work.
I think so too, a little bit weirdly. Yeah,
I don't want to watch this.
Yeah, especially
it's flat. It's very two-dimensional or something.
Yeah, especially since COVID.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like ever since that hit, you're probably right. Like so many people probably do view that Zoom style stuff as just a hassle. You know what I mean? Like they probably associate it poorly in their minds. But also I did remember a couple of years ago, I did one with like Montel Jackson and Jay Cuccinello. And it was good to talk to them and everything. And like, fine, I'm like happy to do it. But and there's just something missing. And then there will be a lag on their end and you'll talk and then that kind of shit starts to happen.
Yeah. That was like 2019 though too. It was like pre-pandemic. I feel like the pandemic made Zoom and made like Teams and all of those platforms have to really enhance their software.
Yeah.
Like everything was so laggy and glitchy and everything back then, which is so weird to think about.
That's a good point. Like maybe the technology would be better now.
True, but it's still
something
still
missing.
Plain.
Yeah.
It's still not exciting to look at. Like at least like
There's something that happens when you start talking to a person, I think, that like the energy starts bouncing off you too, and that's missing still and whatever's going on.
Yeah.
Did you see that thing that Lex Friedman and Mark Zuckerberg did though? They did like an AI podcast, and I haven't watched it yet. I saw it was released like I think a few weeks ago.
In the metaverse or whatever. No, I didn't see it, but I saw that they did it.
Yeah, and I guess it's supposed to feel a little bit more like you are sitting down in front of that person having a conversation because I think you can see each other's avatars. So it's like you're sitting across from each other having that conversation a little bit more.
Weird.
Yeah.
The metaverse confuses me.
Yeah. Well,
I don't get it.
Well, also what's interesting is I think one day it's going to be a legitimate viewing option for sports. Like Mark Zuckerberg is obsessed with MMA. Like he's always like training it or whatever.
Yeah, they were going to fight.
Yeah, him and Elon.
Musk,
Yeah. But I think really what's going to start happening is, you know what? Me and Steph had an interesting conversation about this though when we were, Steph is one of our friends, but when we were back in Pittsburgh, if you're watching virtual reality, like if you can put on goggles and be in the stands virtually and be watching a UFC fight, that's fucking awesome. Especially if it feels like you got headphones on, you're immersed in it, it feels like that way.
Yeah.
But he made a good point in that there's something to just like the community aspect of getting a pay-per-view, watching it with your friends on the couch, and you're all watching the exact same view at the exact same time. Like you're all witnessing the same moment in that room together. Like I think that
that's true.
I don't know. Like I like watching pay-per-views on TV. Like I've been to both in person and I like watching fights on TV.
Yeah. Me too, because it is more, you're right, the angle and the like going in person is the feel, like just being immersed in the experience, and that's really fun.
Yeah.
But like you're right, there's also it's a different energy, but like it's still really fun to get to watch that with your friends and like have the best views and the best like comfort.
Yeah, exactly. Like just sitting around like eat, and if you're gonna be like zoned in your own individual view of what's going on if you have a headset on.
Yeah, true.
Like is everybody just gonna get around and get together on the couch and put on a headset? No.
Yeah,
you're gonna do that from home, and maybe you can sync up in the meta. But I don't know. I just feel like I don't know. There's something about being there in person still that they haven't like figured out, but maybe they will.
That's so interesting. I never thought about that. The way the technology is going is kind of scary.
Yeah, a little frightening.
Kind of crazy. Cool. It's really cool, but like the possibilities are really scary.
Yeah,
to me.
I think so too. I think that there's like a real possibility that our kids are going to see video games that are fully immersive, I think.
That's cool.
You know what I mean? Like, I think that people, like, they debate about how advanced AI is going to get and how far it's going to go. But I think that they are going to like put on some sort of headset, and when they're in the game, it's going to feel like they're in control of the character completely. Like you're starting to see aspects of that, but I feel like it'll be fleshed out by the time we have kids.
Crazy.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, think about how far the game systems have come. Like Spider-Man just got released the other day.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're playing that,
have
you ever seen like the web slinging? There's like footage on YouTube that you can find of old video games, Spider-Man games, and the web slinging on it. They do like a time lapse of it when it starts on like the very first PlayStation.
Oh my gosh, is it like a block? Like,
but it's like this. Like, you're like he's like, and he's swinging his legs back and forth. Like that's how. And the webs just come out of nowhere. They're not attached to any buildings. They're just from the sky.
The sky, and they come down.
And but it's more like he's running in midair in this like rhythm. And then you get to the PlayStation 2, and it's like now he's swinging a little bit more. And then in the PS3 and the PS4s, it starts. Now the PS5 is fucking.
He's doing backflips and twists and turns,
it's seamless.
And like it's so cool to watch.
Exactly.
Like I'm like, oh shit, that looks really cool.
Yeah, and I mean that's since I've been a little kid. You know what I mean? And I feel like the graphics revolution really started, in my opinion, when like the PlayStation was huge, like it was a but like and the Xbox, but like when the Xbox, I think like 360 and the PlayStation like 2 or 3 came out, you saw a really big turn in graphics. You know what I mean? Like around that area, like I think the leap from PS2 to PS3 was dramatic, more dramatic than from PS3 to PS5 even.
Really?
But I feel like some of the games you're seeing now, like God of War, though, looks like you're watching a movie. Like you can still tell they're animated characters, but how many generations until like what's the PS10 gonna look like?
You know that's so weird to think about that we'll eventually be there.
Yeah, it's interesting for sure.
Weird.
Yeah, I don't know. I just think that if it keeps going the way it's going, it's gonna be like fully immersive, and it might be normal to put on like Fury and Ngannou tomorrow. Like, what if you could just throw on goggles and be there for that?
Like,
though? Like it feels like you're there.
And have the best view and like feel like you're surrounded by a crowd. That would be really cool.
Yeah,
that would be really cool.
Yeah, it would be. I mean, I don't know. Speaking of, who do you think's gonna win? Do you have an opinion one way or the other?
Yeah. So I know that Fury is the world-renowned, like most famous boxer, whatever. But I'm still siding with Ngannou because, well, I don't know, because he is newly entering into boxing, whereas Fury's been doing it his whole life.
Yeah.
But like, okay, I guess that does account for a lot. But in my mind, I just know Ngannou more. And
you've watched him fight more.
I've seen him hit people.
It's outrageous.
Yeah.
It's outrageous.
Like he can withstand blows too. So if then he gets into the pocket and gets him, like he's gonna.
It's so funny that you brought.
Rock him.
It's so funny that you brought this up though, because when you start, I mean, Ngannou relies on the fact that he has massive power.
Yeah.
Right. Like obviously, if he can land, but when you bring up like them fighting in the clinch. That's so much different in the UFC than boxing. And if you watch Tyson Fury, you would think that because he's a big guy, he would do well in poor spaces, but like he'll get backed into corners and fight in those tight quarters and slip punches and boom, come over the top. Like
he's quick.
He moves like he's got some of the best. He does not look like it, but he has some of the best movement and speed on his punches that you've like ever seen. Like have you ever seen highlights?
Yeah, and we watched that one boxing match of his.
Yeah, he's special.
He's really good.
He's really fucking good.
Yeah.
So I think that Ngannou in situations like that's actually going to struggle to land. I think his best shot is unorthodox, like blows that come, because like I was listening, I think it was Bisbing on like a fight I was listening to, was talking about how sometimes when you're sparring, guys that come into the gym that are new or fresh that aren't as good as you give you the most problems because they're not like responding according to like a conditioned athlete who's been through. They're throwing wild shit at you sometimes, and that's where I think he can land. It's still like at the end of the day, you're still just throwing your fists. Like I know there's so much more to it than that.
Yeah.
But if Ngannou lands, like if he lands clean, I don't know if it fucking matters. But I worry that as the fight drags on, boxing. Look at what happened to Conor when he fought Floyd. He got tired.
He got gassed so fast.
But
Conor always gasses.
Yeah, but is Ngannou gonna gas? He's not exactly a volume guy. Like, he's got to be buying his time and waiting for big shots. I wonder if he's gonna play like the patience game. Like, you come to me, and when you come into range, I'm gonna let shit fly.
Yeah.
Like, make him afraid. Because if you get beat up that way, maybe you can at least keep yourself a little bit safe.
Yeah.
If you go reckless, like, people are like, he's got to knock him out in the first round, and I disagree. I think you know that if you go hunting, he's gonna make you pay. I think Fury is too good. Like, he'll see the punches coming, and like, he might, like, maybe he does come out and go fucking ham and just drops him. But I would say,
I feel like Fury would be expecting that and waiting for that, though. Like, I feel like he would be ready to dodge.
He's going to cover up. He's going to shell up. He's going to get down, and he's going to protect himself and wait for that to burn out.
Yeah.
I think what you're going to see from Ngannou is, I think, like, especially, you're going to see, like, boring rounds early. And I think that Ngannou is going to say, no, I'm going to make you push this fight on me. You're the world champion. The pressure's on you. When you come to me, I'm letting, like, come into the danger zone. Wait in.
Gosh, I bet you're right. I could see that.
That would be my, if I was going to, like, not that I would fucking know, but if I was going to, like, prepare someone for this, I was like, if you could go out and take a chance, right?
Yeah.
But if that chance doesn't pay off, you're going to get beat up for the rest of the rounds when you get tired.
Yeah.
Or you make the world champion come to you, and every time he steps into range, you just let the fucking hardest punch you can let fly.
And, like, body shots.
Body shots from
Ngannou.
Oh my god, he hits so... I mean, Fury can knock you out, but Ngannou just has to touch you.
Yeah. Oh, that is true. I guess I didn't think about Fury's ability to, like, knock you out. So, yeah, if you can only take so much if he's beating you up and, like, beating up the body and everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you think Fury?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like, in my head, yeah, I just think that, like, the boxer's going to win.
That makes the most sense, yeah.
Yeah. And I think it depends on what kind of, how risky does, if Ngannou is patient, how risky does Fury want to be? I mean, this could end up being underwhelming in a lot of ways, just because, like, there's nothing on the line for Ngannou. Like, there's nothing. If he loses, everyone expected him to lose.
Yeah.
But if Fury gets knocked out, and if Ngannou makes the fight come to him, and just every time you wade in, pop, like, here, there it is, come on in. You know what I mean? Like, that's what I would say would be his best bet to win. Yeah, we'll see. Yeah. I think it's unlikely, though. But the power is always there as long as you don't get... But Ngannou also has that fucking crazy power where he was exhausted in the first Stipe fight, and there were moments where he, like, connected. And Stipe won, but you would be like, oh my God. Like, you would think you would be tired, but there's just... It's like the amount of leverage he can generate with the shots. I've never seen anything like it. Yeah. You know? And people are like, he's slow. Like, when they're watching his boxing footage, and I'm like, it don't matter.
It's the power behind the punch.
Yeah.
It's the power behind the punch.
Yeah, like, if he connects, it don't matter. So we'll see.
And just, like, looking at all the previous history of all of the MMA fighters who've come into the boxing ring, they've all lost. Like, the professional boxers win. Even professional MMA fighters are losing to celebrity boxers like Jake Paul. Like Nate Diaz, Anderson Silva, both lost to Jake Paul. It's like, what is going on here? But when you have a young guy who's a little bit bigger than you, who's focusing strictly on boxing, he's going to have an advantage going into stuff like that. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's not, I don't know. Yeah. I mean, it's interesting for sure. You know what? I was reading about this. You know that book I'm reading, that Choke book on the history of, like, jiu-jitsu? Yeah. I've been, like, picking through it slowly. It's so funny because back then you read about fights and stuff, they were all like circus events. You know, like they would put on matchups between a wrestler and a boxer, or a lucha libre guy and a capoeira guy, like a guy who, like, wrestles versus a guy who throws a lot of kicks and stuff. And they would all bicker and argue about what the best style was. Yeah. And the ultimate, I mean, like, you come up with jiu-jitsu and it starts to really show through in the UFC. But really, the creation of MMA was a combination of, like, what works in a real fight. You boil it down to that. Yeah. And now, isn't it so funny that now that MMA and the UFC is so established,
you get people stepping outside of the MMA circle to go box again. And you get these fucking huge celebrity type, circus type matchups just like back then.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
It's all cyclical, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
That's pretty cool to know the history of like how MMA really got started.
Yeah. Well, the 93, the first event was in Denver.
That's so crazy.
Yeah, and Hoist Gracie ran through everybody and used jiu-jitsu, and that's when jiu-jitsu like took off. Because you realize like if you're looking at now, that's not true anymore. Like I wouldn't say that jiu-jitsu, far from. Jiu-jitsu is not the most effective like martial art. No doubt it's wrestling. But back then,
really,
jiu-jitsu could take advantage of wrestling. Well, I mean, like if you have a wrestling base, you have to know jiu-jitsu and MMA. Like you have to understand it at least. Like even Khabib and guys like that, like he knows how to fucking throw a triangle up. You know what I mean? Like you can call it sambo, you can call it jiu-jitsu, but it's a different style of grappling. But back then, wrestlers that came into the sport, it was more just focused on like taking the guy down and holding him there, and like. As a wrestler, you didn't go to your back, but a jiu-jitsu guy constantly worked off his back. So if he could get off of his back and on top, he could put that guy in trouble because they didn't know what to do from there. They didn't. Yeah. You don't train from there. You just, as a wrestler, you always go belly down. You know.
Try to pin them down. Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, it's crazy studying all the stuff, and then it's really interesting going back and reading about like the dark side of like the Gracies and like. Kind of some of the fucked up shit that happened on there. I mean,
and things that people don't want to like acknowledge.
Like the fact that there's no hard, it's taboo to say this, there's no hard evidence that they ever received their black belt from like Count Koma or whatever. There's no evidence. Like there's no real hard evidence. In fact, they don't even think that they trained with them directly. They think that it was like, it's a whole deep rabbit hole, but you can't bring it up.
Yeah.
Because every fucking school in America even is Gracie owned. Even John Danaher and Gordon Ryan and all those guys come from the Renzo Gracie lineage. You know what I mean? It's like, there's no doubt that they changed. And you also have to take it with a grain of salt because it was the time. Like the time they were in was just different. But
word of mouth, or you just believed it.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Like that's just how it was back then.
And everything was just like written through newspapers. There's not a lot of video recordings of things. Like it's not well documented.
Yeah.
So these takes and everything are subjective.
Yeah.
But back then, I feel like there are instances where the Gracies would like, the brothers would like jump their opponents and stuff like in a bar and shit like that. And it's like, but yes, I'm sure like if that happened, yes, it's fucked up. But also again, it's like what, the 1930s or whatever? It's like, it's a different fucking time and it's Brazil. Like what if those other people are doing the same thing? Like how deep does it go?
Yeah.
You know, are you just picking on the Gracies in this book?
Or does that kind of like the Peaky Blinders where they saying that they got their black belts from him and everyone was too afraid, like they bullied everyone, they would jump them and bully them and into forcing that agenda, you know what I mean? Like did they just make it so that people were too afraid to correct them and speak out?
Yeah, I know, but then they did ultimately though, like their family really did figure it out and change it. Like they, somewhere along the way, regardless of what you want to say about the lineage, I'm sure they did lie about things. I'm sure they did exaggerate things because at the end of the day, they all wanted to make money. They all wanted their name in the newspapers and it was a fight business. They're doing the same thing that people are doing now, promoting.
Yeah.
But along that route somewhere, whoever, it doesn't matter, someone in that family
actually figured it out.
It took a fucking turn, a dramatic turn, because they were legitimately going in and fighting other guys now and dominating them on the world stage. And people were like, oh my God.
Yeah, you can't deny them that.
Yep.
Like however they got started, their origins, whatever, but yeah, you can't deny their actual ability
to
do it.
What they turned the sport into, exactly. And some of the greatest practitioners ever, like Hodger Gracie is considered the greatest like jiu-jitsu person ever other than Gordon. So
wow.
But it's crazy to think back then to like how like primal the sport was versus watching like Makhachev versus Volkanovski and how complete they are. Like how much the sport has taken a turn in what, 30 years?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Speaking of, how'd you feel watching Volkanovski get?
I just love him so much.
I know.
So it's like, and you could see like he was bummed when it got called
But I mean, he only had, what'd you say, like 12 days or something?
12 days notice,
in advance, yeah. So it's like, I don't know. That was a bummer to watch because not only was it so short, but I do feel like if he had a proper camp and proper time to prepare for it, it could have been, because look how good the first fight was. It was so fun to watch.
Yep.
And like so close, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, so much more competitive than the first one. Yeah, you can't. It is so hard to win a short notice fight.
Yeah.
Because it's not just the fact that Islam has been preparing for an opponent. Like, he was preparing for Oliveira, but he's conditioned like a motherfucker.
He went through a whole, he's still eating right, sleeping right, like hydrate, like he's doing at least all of the physicality of like, he's getting worked. So yes, it does also, you do have to mentally prepare and physically prepare for a specific person, but like you said, he still is up here, whereas Volk got no physical training, really.
Yeah.
He got like a week and a half.
100%. Islam's in the fucking zone when he steps in there. He looks good, he's athletic, he's been through it, he's ready. And it's like, Volk's, you gotta, no matter who you are, you gotta have questions if you're, and if you have questions, it's bad. But also, I felt like because of that, because of the short notice, like, the really only moment of success that Volk had was Islam put him up against the cage. Volk got an underhook, and remember, I was like, oh, he's doing good with head positioning. But as soon as they broke, I was like, that's a win for Volk. But as soon as they broke, Islam just started backing him up. I was like, damn, he's bullying him around. He's so much bigger than him. And it didn't seem like Volk was confident getting off with his hands.
Yeah.
I really thought he'd start attacking the leg a little bit too, because if that body kick's coming, you don't want Islam putting weight on his lead leg to throw it. I thought he beat the legs up a little bit, but just got overwhelmed.
Yeah, quickly.
Yeah, it was sad.
But and do you think he just got gassed? Like, do you think once like,
I think that motherfucker's in I think he could have fought 5 rounds. Like, I really do. I think he could have got through it if he didn't get clipped.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think that I think that he would have been in better shape had he gone through a full camp, obviously. But no, I don't think that it had to do with being out of shape.
And just how much that affects your mental state when you have gone through a full camp and you're like, I do feel ready.
You feel ready.
Whereas if you only had a few days, you're going to be like, I can do it. But like deep down, you're like, yeah, but he got a full thing and I didn't.
Yeah.
So like it has to affect your mental.
Especially because, and again, this is where you got to be careful because you don't want to start delving into people's minds and pretending to put yourself in their shoes. Like,
True.
I don't know what they're thinking.
Like you don't, yeah.
But there are guys like Michael Bisping, who definitely, I would not call his career a journeyman's career, but he was just very close to the top and never got it, like never got the belt. But then Rockhold, he gets the fight against Rockhold on short notice and knocks him the fuck out.
Oh, I forgot about
Barely
that.
any time to prepare. But it's like,
I didn't know
Bisping
that.
had a rocky career like that, like a weird, like he lost some, won some. He's like that kind of person. Volkanovski, the way that he's been going through his camps recently, he's been like, boom, I'm going through camp, I'm conditioned, I'm coming in with a game plan, I'm fucking doing this fight, I got that. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you become used to a process, I would imagine, as a person. And I think that Bisping's process worked differently. So that short notice fight, I think Bisping went into that fight. Yeah, I think when Bisping went in, he went in thinking, I really think he thought, I'm going to knock this motherfucker out. You know what I mean? Like, I think that's how Bisping thought going into it. And I think Volk is a preparer.
Yeah.
He likes preparation, I would guess. And I think when that's absent, things just don't ring right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Your rhythm's a little bit off.
Yeah.
But if you're half the battle's confidence, I think.
Yeah.
If you're confident, you're going to go in there and fight well.
And you're going to feel that's so true.
Yeah.
That's so true.
Every top level athlete that you listen to will say, like, it's all in the preparation. Like, all of your confidence comes from how you prepared.
Yeah.
So, and now Volkanovski wants to fight Ilia Topuria. You probably don't know him. He's like this knockout artist who's been surging up through 145. He wants to fight him in January, which is soon.
That's so soon.
Yeah.
And it's like 3 months.
Well, I'm not a fan of that just because he got knocked out, you know?
Yeah.
Won't take time to recover.
Yeah. Why do you think he's trying to line them up so?
I think he wants to stay active.
Yeah.
I think.
Do you think because of his age, is he just trying to like get as many fights in before he has to retire?
He's 35.
Is he?
And I don't want to like. You don't want to start putting that pressure on a person because I think you can fight well into like 37 and be really successful. And 38, yeah. Some people are exceptions. They fight into their 40s. Yeah. But I think that if you're looking at it, the window is so short.
It's so small.
And I think he's seeing that it's going to close in a couple years even. Yeah. So he's like, I got to go out and chase these things. But it's like, overall though, take the GSP and the John Jones approach.
Yeah.
Plan for John never takes short notice fights. One time people got so fucking pissed at him because they wanted them to fight Chael Sonnen on short notice. Yeah. And he was like, I think they had to cancel the pay-per-view because of John. He was like, I'm not fighting. No, I'm not going to go fight a fucking wrestler that I didn't prepare for. And he's like, and he doesn't risk his legacy on stuff like that.
I was going to say, because then at the snap of a finger, it really could be taken from him. Why would you risk that?
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, that's amazing. Good for him.
Yeah. He sticks to his guns. Oh, yeah. He does know his worth.
He does.
He ain't going to take a fight that he ain't getting, like, you know what I mean, his fair due on.
No, I don't. Well, I don't think he's wrong at all for that. Like, I think I would do the same thing.
See, he got injured, too. So now that fight's pushed back 8 months. They scheduled a new one. But what's going to happen because the contract with USADA is dropping in December. I wonder what his recovery is going to look like. Is he going to have access to drugs, like different types of like PEDs, so to say, or whatever you want to call it, like things to help him recover?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Oh.
Yeah. There's an argument that people have that you should just turn it wide open, like let people take whatever they want. So that they can like recover efficiently and be ready for training, and you would get better, healthier athletes is the argument. Yeah.
But would the drugs that would like the steroids? I don't know anything about it, but like with the steroids that would like pump you up and give you aggression, would those still be prohibited?
I don't know how it would work, but this is where I think that like you have to be careful. Like I personally am not a big fan of unregulated steroid usage. If you look at jiu-jitsu, like ADCC, Gordon Ryan, all those guys, it's literally like this. It's known as the steroid Olympics. They take whatever they want and they're juiced to the fucking gills. And it creates an environment where if you want to enter that pool, you likely have to take performance-enhancing drugs to be on that level as well.
To just be the same as everyone else.
Maybe you're an exception, but to have that playing field leveled out.
Yeah.
But here's my issue with that. When it's unregulated, I worry that what happens is you get the people at the top are going to have access to better resources.
Oh, yeah.
They're going to have access to better doctors, and they're going to know how to do this more healthily. And if it's unregulated, the people at the bottom don't have access to those, and they're going to be experimental.
Yeah, and they're going to be trying to just get the cheap shit and like whatever they can like.
And they'll fuck up and they'll make mistakes.
That's a really good point.
Yeah, I think that really the answer is like hopefully with this lean into drug-free sport, the UFC and them can come to agreement like, hey, we've seen really good success with guys using this drug. And maybe you shorten the window for how long they have to be inside, outside the pool. I don't know. But what you want to see is them lean into it.
Yeah.
And study the side effects. And when you can clear the drug and say, hey, we think this is good, add it to the list.
Yeah.
And let them fucking take it. Let them do whatever. Like that's the approach. You have to lean into it.
Yeah.
If you forbid it, that never works.
Yeah.
But if you can provide a base, exactly. But if you can provide a baseline that provides all athletes the same access to the same drugs, I think that could be a really good thing.
Yeah.
But
so my question is, if they are, okay, it does level the playing field, which is great. But like for jiu-jitsu artists only, that makes sense because they're not punching each other in the head. But like for MMA, like does it enhance them so much that it becomes more dangerous for the, like, and I know if they're both juiced up, but is it like more harmful?
I don't know. And it's like how...
Because like, should anyone be that enhancedly strong? Like...
I don't know.
And like, look how football players are like messing each
other
up.
They take repeated collisions to the head. There's actually an argument that maybe if punches were coming more swift, you might see cleaner knockouts. And cleaner knockouts might actually be better than getting hit. I don't know, though. I don't know. And I also don't know, like, what's the difference in getting knocked out between somebody who's not on juice and somebody who is? Like, what's that difference? Is it making...
True.
You're already getting fucking clobbered. Like, if Francis Ngannou punches you versus Francis Ngannou on steroids, how much does it matter? Do you know what I mean? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, either way.
The thought is terrifying, but yeah.
What's the difference? What's the trade-off there? Because if athletes can recover, and the recovery aspect outweighs that small risk, then I'm all for it. Like, but it's like, again, I want it regulated because of health concerns for young athletes, especially. Yeah. I think that regulation would be good.
That's a really good point. I do get what you're saying there. Where, like, if they can, because how else are you ever going to get things passed if you don't just start testing them and clearing them and making sure they're clean?
Yeah, you got to give athletes, like, access to drugs that they all know they can take. The things are very clear. Like, you can literally shoot this into your fucking ass. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you can, like, go in, get injected, shoot this up. We're okay with it at this level, and we're going to handle your prescriptions for it through us.
Yeah.
I think it should go through the facility so that they're not just winging it. Like, if you want to take these drugs, it should also be granted to them.
Yeah.
Through drug-free sport, and I think it should even be paid for by the UFC. Like, you think the NFL players are fucking? Even if so, they make so much money that it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. Yeah.
UFC athletes, there's all this pay problems and discrepancies and stuff. Which, you know, by the way, it'll never work until contracts go public.
Yeah.
Until the public can dispute the UFC's contracts, they're never going to get their fair deal.
Yeah.
Because the business wants to keep it private so they can make money.
Of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So would the fighters have to strike basically and like force the UFC's hand to get contracts? Like, how would that process start?
They have to unionize.
Yeah.
They have to unionize. Yeah. And the only reason that contracts in the NFL, the MLB, the NBA are public are because the players got together, unionized, and fucking demanded it.
Yeah. So why don't fighters do that?
I don't know.
Like,
I don't know. Because it's new and it's young and they're spread through all these different countries. There's all these visa issues. They're you know what I'm saying? Like, oftentimes I fucking wonder if the UFC, like, is so dug up and getting all these Russians on the roster because A, they're talented, but B, are they going to unionize? Is there a threat of them unionizing?
Oh, I didn't even think about the UFC literally has so many different countries involved. It's not just like the American.
I don't even know if that has anything to do with it, but I would imagine. Yeah. I'd have to do way more research.
No, I could see that.
But until that happens, the organization will always come out on top. Whereas the players in the NFL, like Jalen Hurts just got paid like how much fucking money? I mean, like
Millions.
Lamar, so much money.
Yeah.
So much money. But it's because the contracts are public and people debate them and put scrutiny on the organization.
Yeah.
You know? And it'd be blasted all over ESPN and there'd be outrage and the UFC would be forced to comply.
Yeah.
Yep, they would be forced to change things. But I'm hungry. I want to go get ramen.
I'm so hungry.
Yeah. All right.
I'm excited.
Yeah, let's go get it. We got to drive through Aurora, which is a little bit scary.
You never know what's going to happen on the road.
No, it's fucking chaos going through there, isn't it? Yeah. But all right, thanks for listening to me preach at you for a while. You were a good guest. Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah. All right, let's end this.
Okay.
Bye.